Hello everyone and welcome back to Cadia Stands. Today I'll be showing you guys a quick and easy paint tutorial for your Chaos Cultists for your Chaos Space Marines army. All the tutorials that I see on YouTube for these models are great, but you're spending about 20 to 30 minutes on each model, which means that banging out a huge army of dozens of Chaos Cultists that you're going to need for a 1,000, 1,500, or 2,000 point force is going to take a very long time. This tutorial aims to bridge that gap. In my opinion, Chaos Cultists are one of the best looking kits in the Chaos Space Marines range, and I really hope that this video inspires more of you to go out and include them in your army. As I'm sure you all can tell from the rest of the videos on my channel, my true love is the Astra Militarum, and these Chaos Cultists are a classic enemy of the Imperial Guard. Now, into the actual painting. First, undercoat the model in a spray primer like Citadel's Chaos Black. Next, just like for my Chaos Space Marines paint recipe, we're going to be using a heavy dry brush of Mechanicus Standard Gray to start bringing up the model from that black undercoat and provide a good base for other paint layers to go down on. We'll follow that heavier dry brush up with a lighter dry brush of Celestra Gray. This again is going to go all over the entire model. This will allow us to put some washes over the entire model. Kind of a modified slap chop painting method. Next, we're going to dry brush Lead Belcher over all of the metal areas on the model. This includes the gun, any handheld weapons, armor plates, or your classic Chaos spikes all over the model. You don't have to be super accurate with this, but just try to at least keep it off of the skin areas of the model. Alright, now that that's finished, we're going to start moving on to some shades. So the first paint that we're going to be using is the contrast paint Guilliman Flesh, and we're going to apply that to all of the exposed skin areas on the model. Here you're going to have to actually start being careful with your application, being careful to avoid any of the other robed areas, although we will be painting over some of them later, so accuracy isn't super critical. Now we're going to hit all of the exposed fabric on the cultist with Corn Red. This might take a couple coats since you're going over a black undercoat, but just thin down both your coats and you'll end up fine. On areas where the cloak is under heavy shadow, like between this guy's legs, I just elected to leave the cloak as the black undercoat base color to give a heavier illusion of depth. We're now going to go back over those flesh areas that we undercoated with Guilliman Flesh, and we're going to give them a nice highlight with Cadian Flesh Tone. In retrospect, it might have been a little bit easier to do this before we went over all the cloth areas with Corn Red, as it would have allowed you to be a little less accurate with your highlighting. This dry brush should be pretty heavy, as we're going to go back over the entire model with Agrax Earthshade in just a couple steps. Next, we're going to quickly pick out some of the small gold details on the model with Retributor armor. For most of these models, it's just going to be the Chaos Star that hangs from their belt. Next, we're going to use Agrax Earthshade, and we're going to apply this as a heavy wash over the entire model to bring everything together and dull down the brightness of that corn red fabric and really make everything look like a Chaos Cultist who's been living underneath the streets of a hive city for years and years. I'm not ashamed to admit it, I love a good full heavy Agrax Earthshade wash on all of my figures, and honestly I can't remember the last time that I didn't do this at least once on all of the models that I've painted. It really just gives a great grimy look, perfect for the environment of Warhammer 40,000. Now you don't necessarily have to do this, but I'm just going to go back in after this wash and lighten up the flesh on the model with a little bit more of a dry brush of Cadian Flesh Tone, just to make the flesh pop a little bit more relative to the darker corn red fabric. Obviously you're going to want to be very careful here when you're applying this dry brush, as everything else in the model is already painted, although Cadian Flesh Tone is a very light color, so if you do mess up, you're probably not going to notice a lot anyways. So there you have it, the finished model. It really only takes probably about 10 minutes of painting time on every model, which is going to cut the time that you're spending painting your cultists in half compared to a lot of these other videos, so you'll have more time to use them on the tabletop. Thank you all for watching, and let me know down in the comments if you're enjoying this Chaos content as much as I am. I know in the future I would love to build an all Renegade Guards force, but in the current rule set it's not allowed. However, I'm going to get as close as I possibly can. I only paint Space Marines when I have to, and I absolutely love my Chaos Cultists, and look out for another video on how to paint Traitor Guardsmen. If you like this video, consider subscribing down below, and until next time, Cadia stands.